Hi, Rúben. You're obviously 5 games unbeaten. You famously said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's a storm coming. Yeah. Do you now feel that's over? That sort of worry that you could be engulfed again and go back to sort of not square one, but have a massive setback.
No.
Are those sort of dark days over?
I have always that feeling. I think it's also my job, especially in our club, to always have that feeling. That gives me the sense of urgency in every training that I have. Then again, playing every game in Premier League, you can sense that everything can change so fast because all the teams can win any game. And if you see the bottom, they have a lot of points. So everything can change in one moment. So I don't like to say the storm is over, but we are prepared. We are more prepared for any storm in this moment. So let's take this sense of urgency to every game.
The reverse of that, if anything can happen, could you become, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games unbeaten? Is that possible as well?
We need to think to be 6 games unbeaten. But then unbeaten is not enough. I came from these last 2 games, but especially the last one, very frustrated. So for us, it's not enough. In this club, it doesn't matter the moment. It is not enough to be unbeaten. Unbeaten is not everything. We didn't win the last 2 games. So I think like that. I don't think that we are unbeaten 5 games ago. In my mind, we don't win a game. We are going to the 3rd game, and the last 2, we didn't win. So that is my feeling.
Hi, Rúben. Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee haven't played too much this season. If they asked to leave the club in January, whether that be on loan, would those requests be entertained, or have you made the decision?
The first thing is that the club comes first place. So we have to think about the club and the team, and then everything can happen. And I was a football player. I understand everything, and I want to help my players in every situation. So I don't know what is going to happen. I want my players happy. I understand the frustration of some players seeing that the World Cup is there, and I know what it means for the World Cup, but Manchester United comes first. So if I can help the club and the players, I will be happy. If not, I have to think about the team.
On a slightly similar note, and I know it's looking ahead a little bit, but given the progress you've made with the squad rebuild, would you say that midfield is the area that has to be reinforced and strengthened next year?
It's hard to say that, but I think we can add in the future. I don't know when, different characteristics. The same thing that our thinking in front sometimes is not the quality of the players, the characteristics of the players, and we can improve in some areas in our club. But I'm happy with the guys that we have in the moment, and I think they have so much more to give. So it's my job to think about them, not the other guys that are not here.
And just on one of those players, Manuel Ugarte's struggled when he has started this season. You know him very well. Are you surprised by his performance level and not?
No, I understand if you also, and you are here longer than me, and you can sense that a lot of very good players come here and sometimes they struggle, and they are struggling. He's struggling in the moment, but it's our job to try to help our players. And again, everything can change, and you saw it 5 weeks ago. The environment was completely different. So I know that Ugarte is struggling in the moment, and my job is trying to help him to feel as a player like I felt when he was a Sporting player, for example. But it's a different world, and he needs to adapt, and he needs to improve, especially in training.
James?
Rúben, you talked about this. It's not just the quality of the players, it's the characteristics. You've made a lot of changes to the squad. A year on, where is it in terms of where you want it to be in atmosphere, culture, environment, the squad? How close is it getting to that sort of close-knit group?
I think we are better. I think we are in a better moment. I think we train with a better intensity. I think we are doing the things in a better way, but we are not perfect. And I can, when I watch trainings, when I watch games, we are far from perfection, and we can be perfect in the position, in the intensity, all these things, and we need to work that on in training. So to be really honest with you, we are better, but far from perfection. We need to do that, especially to win in this league. We need to be perfect in everything, to have a little bit luck, to try to get in the top of the table. So we are far from the perfect environment.
Whose teams are often competing for the titles or winning titles often talk about how the dressing room might get to a point where it almost polices itself. Like, obviously, there's just that the standard and the demands day in, day out are so high that they just feed off each other. Like, is it going to take like another year to get to that point, another 2 years to get to
I don't know. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. That is something that is not... Sometimes it's just like that in change, but it takes a lot of work to reach that point, and we are not there yet, but we are fighting. Because sometimes we are used to different things, and then when you want to change, it's hard because you have to suffer sometimes it's hard when you are not used to suffering every drill, every training. It's hard, but they are making the effort, and that is the only thing I can ask. But we are not there yet to leave the players like train, and I know that everything is going. No, I have to be there. Every drill, every moment, I still have to be there. So we are far from that team that I can talk with Jason Wilcox during training, and the speed is completely the same. We are not there.
So wins help build that, don't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. The environment is completely different when you win, but the big teams is the same when you win. When you lose, you can be annoying, but the speed and everything, the sound is completely different. Even the aggression between them in training, it has to be different. So I'm always on top of that. They are trying, and that is the only thing, again, that I can ask for.
Paul?
Into that period where the AFCON is on, how much of a challenge will that be for you? Because obviously Ahmad, Brian and Nusir are very important members of your squad.
I think it's going to be hard, but then that is the good thing of the experience. We lived so many limitations last year because we changed in January and we didn't bring the players, and then we had the injury of Ahmad for 4 months, all these things. So we are prepared for that. Even it will be hard for us, but we have a different baggage to deal with that. And again, I think guys like Jack Fletcher, Shea, a lot of guys, they can step up, and we can send at the same time a message to everyone here in the academy that this is the future, but we are going to struggle, and that we have to be prepared for that.
Is Gino someone else that I know he's only 17 and perhaps had his chance a little bit earlier than maybe he was expecting. Is he someone that you look at who could?
Yeah, of course. He played last year. I think it was too soon. We didn't have a team that we can put a young kid with 16 that he will not struggle or will struggle a little bit. Was necessary to do that. The perfect conditions is we have the opportunity and we seek that opportunity for the kids. So he's one of the guys, but I think he started too soon, and sometimes it's hard to deal with that with the kids because they think that I'm already here. No, you are here for necessity, and we need to be careful also with that with the kids.
Okay, last two questions for Nathan and Rashid.
You mentioned about you've been preparing at the academy. Do you feel you can trust a lot more of the youngsters now, even though they maybe haven't had the chance yet, that you get so many into training? Are they closer to what you need them for the first team?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not preparing the academy. They are preparing the academy. We are paying more attention to them. We are talking with them. Just that is so important for us to change information about the players, what they need, how they behave. Even to call a kid for the first team, they need to behave really well. If you don't behave really well, this connection is really important. We are trying to do that. We are putting everything in place. Nutritionists for the academy starts now in our club. That is something that it should be basic. So all these things we are doing, and they are doing their job. So I have more times with them with training, so I'm more confident with them. When we put these kids to play in Premier League, they will struggle, but we'll struggle less, I think. So I think everyone in the academy are doing a very good job in the moment.
We've seen Shea Lacey's development. Obviously, I had a training session with England's first team, trained with the 21s for this break, and they're really happy with him.
I'm really happy with him. I think he struggled a little bit with the injuries. They did a very good job balancing his body. You can sense that he can manage more load during training. He has a lot of talent, but when they come here, they can sense the speed is completely different. So they need to spend more time with us to be prepared, because our trainings are hard, but Premier League games with the pressure is harder. So they need to be ready.
With Benjamin Sesko's injury, I mean, you obviously do have other players who can play up there, but you also did let Rasmus Højlund leave. I mean, when you look back at that, was that a bit of a risk, or was that something you were always comfortable with it, that being the right decision, even if someone did get ruled out?
Yeah, our thinking is that we need two strikers, or sometimes I prefer players that makes two positions, because sometimes in these clubs it's hard to make everyone happy. Imagine that Rasmus is here and you say if Ben has an injury, you have more time to play. It's impossible to manage a dressing room like that. So that's why we need to improve our the kids from academy. If you have an injury, that is the opportunity for them, and then to have players that can play in different positions for us to manage the team in a better way.
Hello everybody, we are at the Emirates Stadium for the Gary Neville podcast in the wake of a pretty awesome performance from Arsenal against Spurs in the big derby here. Arsenal have won by 4-1. Eberechi Eze got a hat-trick, and the very simple question for you, Gary, is how good are Arsenal?
Very good. A lot to like about them. I think that over the last few years they've been building towards obviously trying to win a title, and they haven't won that title yet, but they do a lot of things very well. And I think the narrative going into today's game, which I wasn't even entertaining sort of in the last 48 hours, is this, without Gabriel, or Gabriel's injured. No one's interested anymore. Arsenal fans aren't interested. Mikel Arteta is not interested. And what they've demonstrated again today is they've now got a squad that can cope without players being fit. And you know during a season, at the start of a season, you know that certain players are going to miss certain games. And so we've seen Nkapie come in today, slot in really comfortably. Mosquera's done it throughout the season. So don't let that narrative build. Nobody's interested in excuses. We heard last year he had no Saka, Ødegaard, the year before, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, no Saliba. No, now he's not that Arsenal team. The mentality is such that they've moved beyond that period whereby they sort of are looking for excuses or might think that it could impact them if a player's missing. They've got a really good squad. Their drop-off between player number 1 in the team and player number 2 who comes in if that player's missing is small. Declan Rice would be a problem, but then he's an exceptional talent and someone who's very different. But today I thought they were excellent all over the pitch. I'm not an Arsenal fan, I'm not a Tottenham fan, but watching that first 25 minutes, I was almost willing Arsenal to sort of go and play and go, and if you kept hearing me in that first 25, 30 minutes about pushing it through and not getting caught up in these safe passes. I think sometimes when you watch Arsenal, they dominate possession, they push up the pitch, they really sort of like sustain attacks and push teams in, but they recycle the ball at that point then sometimes too easy and take the safe option. I thought what they did well in that first half was they kept pushing it through into Eze, into Saka, into Trossard, because that's what Tottenham don't want you to do. And every time they did that, they caused problems. It wasn't a lot in the first half, but the 2 or 3 times they did it, they got through them. And Tottenham will come on to them obviously shortly, but they're a team waiting to get beaten by a very good Arsenal team, and that's what Arsenal did. And after what happened yesterday with Liverpool and with City, it was a much needed victory today, and they've sent a message to everybody in the league.
What struck me, and you're talking about Nkapie coming in specifically today for Gabriel and a player for every position or 2 players, when Madueke came on late, you thought, they've got him too, and Martinelli was back on the bench today, and Ødegaard is there, and Gabriel Jesus, we're told, isn't that far away.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Havertz and Gyökeres.
Exactly, and I'm looking at the way that team's performing and thinking, who are you leaving out of this team?
It's not only a squad that should go on and win the Premier League, and I'm not jumping ahead of myself here, it's a squad that I can see winning the Champions League in the next 2 or 3 years. Might not be this season, because sometimes when you go in to win your first Premier League, you become so consumed by that, and then you can sometimes get done in a European game in a midweek on a 2-legged tie. but they're getting to that level of performance and resilience and stability and consistency. You have to be consistent. It's a very consistent performing team, this one, that Mikel Arteta's got. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Trossard, who I thought was sensational today. I mean, Saka was as well, and so was Eze, but Trossard was fantastic. And he's been fantastic, I think, for most of the last couple of months. And he was the one, when you think of Madueke, Martinelli, Eze, Ødegaard, Saka, you're thinking, well, he's the one that's definitely going to fall away. He's the one that will be used maybe 10, 15 games this season, but he's pushed himself into a position. He's a really intelligent player. He knows how to play the position of left-sided forward, stroke midfield player. But Mikel Arteta, like I say, you've got players when you've got a squad that are really sort of pushing each other. You know, Madueke looked really sharp when he came on. He didn't do much in terms of impacting the game, but you looked at him and thought, ooh, that's going to be dangerous. And you look at Eze, just looked at the end of the game like he looked Brazilian at the end of the game, Eze, when he was sort of wandering around the pitch. Beautiful to see that confidence in an English player. You know, you think of Brazilians going around the pitch doing that, and South American players with their sort of mentality of sort of enjoying their football and their love of sort of what would be almost taking my podcast. I'm not.
Your podcast.
I've just said it, but he was at the end. He was a little bit, and yeah, it was brilliant to watch. I loved watching them, and that's the thing. I mean, the interesting thing is they've got Calafiore and Timber at fullbacks. Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ben White are probably better going forward. There's not much between Ben White and Timber. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think, is obviously better than Calafiore going forward, but they've got real options at fullback, real options at centre-back. That's it. The only player you'd be slightly worried about losing for a period of time would be Declan Rice, because you can't replace that. That's your Roy Keane, that's your sort of Rodri. That's the player that sort of holds you together, that you know, there's only one of them. So you wouldn't expect there to be a situation, but they have got options if obviously he wasn't there, but it would never be able to replace the ability for him to be powerful on set pieces, his running, his tackling, his impacting the game going forward. Yeah, but I'm really happy with Arsenal watching them this season. I like watching good teams play football. And I think at times, they've been a bit safe. And it was that Newcastle game, wasn't it, where I think Mikel Arteta just got the team balanced right. He went to Anfield and he played a game against City where I just thought he was a little bit handbrake on, and I accused him of that at the time. He's now getting that balance right of the flair in the team and the confidence. And it's the intent. It's the intent. Don't keep passing it back. Don't keep passing it sideways. You're better than that. You've got players up the top end of the pitch, probably 7 or 8 of them, by the way. Doesn't matter which of them play. You can pass it to these players when they're marked. You can give it to Saka with a 6'4" centre-half behind him. He'll hold the 6'4" centre-half off. He won't just hold him off, he'll roll him. He'll go one way, he'll go that way, and he'll take it inside. And that's what opens up the game. Passing the ball to players who are marked, who've got world-class ability, is what this Arsenal team need to have confidence to do. And I'm seeing that more and more, and particularly today. He didn't score from a set-piece today. In fact, to be fair, the set-piece is probably the worst I've seen from them. But their open play game today, which they've been accused of obviously lacking, it was really good, and that was good to see. And I think they'll get better and they'll get more confident. Yeah, a lot to like about what Arsenal did today.
Arsenal delivered a statement win in the North London derby, dismantling Tottenham Hotspur 1 in a fiery clash filled with drama, skill, and history. The Gunners took control late in the first half, with Leandro Trossard breaking the deadlock after a clever build-up. Moments later, Eberechi Eze doubled the lead, setting the tone for a ruthless second-half performance. After the break, Arsenal came out even sharper. Eze struck again with a powerful finish, stretching the score to 3-0 and sending the Emirates into a frenzy. Tottenham briefly revived hope through a stunning long-range strike from Richarlison, who lobbed David Raya with a moment of brilliance. But Arsenal refused to be rattled. Eze completed his hat-trick with a composed finish, sealing one of the most memorable derby performances in recent history. Beyond the goals, Arsenal's fluid movement, pressing, and clinical finishing exposed Spurs' defensive gaps throughout the match.